This is the Tom Barnard Podcast. Listen live weekday mornings, 8 to 9:30, or anytime you like as a podcast on the Tom Barnard app at tombarnardshow.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back for yet another day. Can you believe it? Apparently you can't.
There we go. Now we're good. Now we can fully believe it.
Yes.
What the hell? So you didn't have me up. I just said to him, are you going to bring me up? You start bringing me up after 8 o'clock now? And what happens? We jump on the air, and he wasn't ready because he was so late in bringing us up. Typical. I hope you learned something.
I learn every single day. Learning every single day, molding minds. Absolutely. Just
you're molding minds. Are you molding minds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that good news for the rest of us that you're molding minds?
No, my hands are about as clumsy as bricks. So,
no. Listen. I want you to know that going back to, I believe it was April 16th, 1986, my first day on the air at KQRS, everything I said for 37 and a half years was misinterpreted. And I want you to know that, just like Ilhan Omar says that she was misinterpreted, so was I. So I want you to go back. I want an apology, and I want about $50 million to make up for what you people did to me because you misinterpreted what I said. Did you hear me? What?
I just love that. That's the best excuse she could come up with.
I know.
Like, we just got to get something out. No speak English. Like, that's what she tried to tell everybody. What?
Well, what about her honky husband? She's married to a honky, isn't she?
I believe so, yes.
I'm not sure.
Where the hell was he with the interpretation? Let's go.
And I'd be like, we have like the phones where you can instantly translate now. Like nothing gets lost in like this. That's a terrible.
It's all true. I'm just glad we don't go through this with everybody else. Can you imagine hearing a speech from some guy from like Sweden or Norway? Have you ever heard anybody speak like Swedish or any of those Viking languages?
Yeah, I've heard them. They all kind of remind me of the Muppet Chef.
Yeah, right. Good call. That's a good call right there.
There you go.
I had a friend named Craig Weiss. He was a brilliant writer. He wrote many, many great commercials. You'd know him if you saw him. Just a brilliant guy. But he spoke Danish.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever he was on the phone with one of his Danish relatives or buddies or whatever, I mean, he spoke perfect English, don't get me wrong. The guy was a brilliant writer. He was nuts, don't get me wrong, but he was a brilliant writer. Have you ever heard anybody speak Danish?
Not Dutch. If I think that might be close, but that's I would say probably as close as it gets. I've heard people speak Dutch.
I've only heard Dutch, so I'm not sure.
Okay, one difference.
Okay,
and I am not exaggerating. This is how people. I don't know the words, so I'm going to make the words up, but this is the delivery of those words. Okay, what do you want me to talk about?
Talk about your walk this morning.
Okay. They laugh when they talk. What the hell is it? What the hell is that?
It's like the opposite of like the German accent sounding angry all the time.
Right.
It sounds happy.
Now, see, I heard that in my house because my grandparents were German on my mother's side. And honest to God, it's like, it's time for dinner. It's like, settle down. I'm coming. You don't have to stab me. Like, God, take it easy. Yeah, some of those languages, when they're speaking, it sounds like they're either laughing, they're pissed off. Sounds like something's cooking, right?
Oh, yeah. They all have different kind of tones to it. And then depending on how not mainstream the languages, like you'll get some of like the clicking languages where they like clicks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm nowhere near smart enough to learn that now as a human.
Well, yes, you are. It's an African language, and you're African. Why can't you learn it?
That's something that doesn't get passed genetically because it would take me about 100 years to like. Did you click with? Was there some attitude in that click that I sensed, or was that just one click? I couldn't do it. No.
Yeah, a lot of those are in Africa. Are they not in North Africa where they click when they talk?
Yeah, I believe so. It's like depends on which tribe.
Yeah, exactly.
Variations and stuff.
I still love the Hutus and the Tutsis kill one another because of the shape of their nose. What happened to human beings along the way? What the hell went wrong?
It's like, you guys see the guy his nose? Like, I think we got to go jump him over there.
This guy, you're going over to Dairy Queen. Hey, nice nose there, Hutu. What?
Although Tootsie's is such a great name.
Tootsie's a great name.
Even Hutu, that sounds cool. Yeah.
If you were a news guy in Africa, wouldn't you speak English just for a little bit? Because you could easily say, as far as the Hutus are concerned, the Tutsis have a total grip on things. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah, they got their Tootsies wrapped around everything. Yeah.
Look, their Tutsis are walking the road they want. The Tutsis are walking the road they want, and their Tutsis are just fine. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
But, growing up, not a lot in my neighborhood, but once you got out of the neighborhood, there were still people that spoke the Norwegian, Swedish, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Out in the suburbs, not in my neighborhood, they didn't pretty much. But, a lot of people still, grandmas and grandpas, which would have been from the late 1800s when I was a little kid, I suppose. Yeah. They came over and they still spoke the language, and they just literally did not understand, though. Like, I would go to a friend's house outside, say, like to go to Robbinsdale, something like that. And I would go, and they were very upset, and they would go to their kid that was my age. And he'd come over and go, "Would you mind tucking your shirt in?" Like, no, that's fine. Yeah, they did not like it when my shirt was untucked. You had to look, you had to look good when you left the house. I suppose that makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because if you think about it, if your grandparents or great grandparents, they grew up in a time where all the little boys had to have their shirts tucked in to go to school, and the girls had their dresses, and so they're like, you got to look good. Can't leave the house looking a mess.
You got to look good. Hey, by the way, we got some great stuff coming up today. Obviously, just the regular staff will be with us on the show, but Josie Riesman is coming on at 8:45. I am really fired up to talk to this woman. Vince McMahon and the Unmaking of America. What the hell did he do, man?
Yeah, well, he's in the news right now for like the sexual assault stuff and whatever else. And so because Josie wrote a book or a biography on him, they're doing a quick press run to talk about Vince McMahon. So I'm very excited to hear all the details that maybe even she uncovered back then.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is it true that one of his favorite things to do, and I have to ask her, or maybe you guys can be the judges and tell me, no, don't ask her that. Make her too uncomfortable. He at times would poop on people's heads.
I think I almost. I'll take a stab at this one if you want. I would say, if that naturally comes up in the conversation, feel free to ask. But I don't know if that's the right out of the gate. Hey, so did you ever find out about?
And I feel like, go ahead.
No, this is going to be perfect. Right in the middle of the interview, I'm going to go, Jesus, Tevin or AJ, when you guys fart, speaking of butts, is it true?
But that's such, like, if there was something weird that, like, AJ was into, and somebody came over and was like, hey, I'm writing this biography on AJ, I'll be like, okay, you can't really say anything, but he is kind of a weird dude. I can't confirm, but I think he might be doing something a little weird. And then, like, that's something that there has to be, she has to have heard something while she's interviewing, like, the 150 people to do this biography.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure it came up once.
I don't know. We're going to find out today. What, Josie Riesman, isn't that her name? Something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Josie Riesman, yeah. We'll talk to her at 8:45 this morning. Looking forward to that. We got to take a break right now because I'm also looking forward to the brilliant sports report coming up from Judd Zulgad from SKOR North. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. Indeed. You know the song Kokomo that's supposed to be off the Florida Keys, right? You know what we're talking about. Well, I hate to break your Beach Boys bubble, but that's a fictitious place they made up for the song. Fortunately for the rest of us, the Florida Keys island chain are as real as the taxes you have to pay in Minnesota if you're a resident. Now, that's a reason to move south. In addition to Florida and all of Monroe County being beautiful, the Keys from Key Largo to Key West are even more beautiful. This is Tom Barnard, part-time Florida resident myself, and if you want a second house or a new retirement home or want to become a Floridian, may I suggest you contact Matt Carlson from One Key West Realty. Matt grew up in Litchfield, Minnesota. He's a super real estate agent when it comes to finding your tropical island space in the Keys, and I'm not playing there. Matter of fact, I'm going down to see those guys in 3 weeks, and I'm looking forward to it. He lives there and here, and Matt knows what's best in Key West to buy for your second home in Florida. I said second home in Florida. You heard me. Matt teamed up with fellow Minnesotan from Sartell and Alexandria, Kristen Eklund, who's one of the top mortgage brokers in the country. From Coast to Coast Mortgage, she'll get you the financing you need to buy a home in Florida or in Minnesota. And don't forget, they brought up there are limited homes that come available in the Keys because people love living there so much. And there is a limit on the number of houses that can be built or have already been built, I guess. So not a lot of people running all over you. It's a wide open space, and it's wonderful. Matt's part of the Lake Sotheby's International Realty Group here in Minnesota. Kristen, his mortgage colleague, lives and works in the Keys. So they both know the Florida Keys' new and existing homes for sale and are Minnesotan through and through. Contact them by heading to, here's all you have to do. Just go to onekeywest.com. That is onekeywest.com.
Is that text you're sending so important that you missed your turn? Is that text you're sending so important that you ran the red light? Is that text you're sending so important you didn't see the ball coming onto the road or the child that followed? Hi, I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant. When you take your eyes off the road for even 4 seconds, your vehicle travels 100 yards. That's the entire length of a football field. If you absolutely have to text, you need to pull off the road somewhere safe and do it from there. Texting and driving is against the law and can cause serious injury or even death to you and others. Now that is important. We hope you're never injured in a collision, but if you are, please contact us.
Find Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Going farther with Mike Bryant on your side, seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw and Bryant.
You horn tootin'. You need to know a guy for your auto repairs, legal issues, banking, and more. The same goes for investment advice. You need a guy to help you be successful, someone you can trust who gets results. Well, I got a guy for you, Josh Arnold. Josh gives you straight talk, not sugar-coated advice about your financial situation. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions, and Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. Do yourself a favor and call Josh now for a no-obligation 48-minute evaluation. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll get a different point of view for your investments. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. You'll be glad you did. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, is a security and investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. I'm Tom Barnard, and I'm a paid endorser.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast. Listen live weekday mornings, 8 to 9:30, or anytime you like as a podcast on the Tom Barnard app at tombarnardshow.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Doot. Hey, I need a favor from you, Judd.
Yeah, what can I do?
You got to go down and make some speeches in Chicago about, okay, what would be the best team in Chicago? Let's see, the Bears are very mediocre. You got, is there anybody down? The Cubs are mediocre. White Sox suck.
Blackhawks suck.
Blackhawks suck. Bulls suck. So they're worse than we are, actually. Our sports suck pretty much. Professional sports, well, and college sports here suck too. Other than like Division II, Division III, that works out pretty well. But I want you to do me a favor. Mm-hmm. I want you to go to Chicago and do a bunch of speeches about how the teams have got to start winning, because now their mayor stood up and said he totally supports Hamas.
What?
He literally did. He said the mayor of Chicago has announced that Chicago totally supports Hamas. What is wrong with people?
That's a new one.
Let me put it this way. I have many, many Jewish friends, so I suppose I lean Jewish, right? That makes it. Oh, yeah, somebody's calling me while I'm on the air. I have the ringer turned off. Why does it ring?
I don't know.
Unbelievable. That's all I have to say.
It's weird.
But in any case, I don't know what is the upside of the mayor of Chicago pulling for either side, to tell you the truth. Don't you serve all the people, including the Jews in the city of Chicago, which there are a few, by the way?
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't know how many Hamas members they got. Look, I don't understand this. I don't know anything about it. I've never been there. I don't know anybody. I don't know any Palestinians. I don't know any Hamas or any of that kind of stuff. So I can't say that I do. I know lots of Jews. I grew up in a Jewish, Black, and Catholic neighborhood, which I talk about quite a bit. But I just don't. Why would you stand up as the mayor of Chicago and take sides in something that's none of your goddamn business?
What
Yeah.
type of speech was this at even?
Well, it looks like there was a shooting in Chicago, and he was giving a speech, and he said that essentially tried to relate the violence in Chicago to like overseas, and said that there should be a permanent ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. So he didn't necessarily say "Yay Hamas." He just said we should have a ceasefire and no more war.
That's not how some people are reporting it. I'll tell you that. They said he flat out supported Hamas. So I don't know what to tell you because you never know anymore. That's why I don't go, this is the absolute truth. Because, Tevin, maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe he never even did say that. But some people in other publications said he absolutely supported Hamas. I mean, you got Ilhan Omar. That's not what I meant at all. Well, some people say you did and some people say you didn't. Why don't we be careful with what we say? That'd be good.
That's probably true across the board. That's probably good advice across the board, right?
Oh, no question about it. Look, I understand as a nice Roman Catholic boy that my people are far superior to everybody else in the world. I mean, I understand. Can you imagine me being religious? Picture that.
I spent 13 years in Catholic school.
I spent 9.
13 years.
Yes, sir. Where did you go, to De La Salle or something?
No, I went to Benilde.
Oh, you went to Benilde?
Benilde for high school and St. Therese and Deep Haven for 9 years because I was K through 8.
You know that my brother Terry was one of the first students at Benilde, and the reason he was one of the first students at Benilde because he helped build the school.
Really?
Isn't that a great story?
The current St. Louis Park. So, because it was what? Well, the boys' school was Benilde, where it is, I think, currently.
St. Margaret, yeah.
And the girls' school was St. Margaret. And I think that was downtown, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a St. Margaret over on Golden Valley Road and Theodore Worth Parkway. Is it that one?
So your brother helped build the school?
That's how he paid his tuition. He paid his tuition by helping to build the school.
There's got to be something illegal about that. How old is
This 15-year-old boy?
Out here laying bricks down so he can go to school?
That's exact. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty smart when you think of it. Here's a kid from a very, very poor family. He couldn't afford to go to Benilde, but I don't know if they recruited him or he went and sought their advice on it or whatever. But yeah, he ended up. I'm sure what he did is push. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a bricklayer. He was a guy that delivered the bricks in the what are those things called?
Like the wheelbarrow or something.
Wheelbarrow. There you go.
Okay.
Wheelbarrow. But yeah, that's it. Now, see, that's a very American story right there. A kid too poor to go there, but they gave him a chance by, hey, you know what? Why don't you bring us the bricks and we'll pay your tuition?
Yeah. Now, what influenced him that much to want to go to Benilde? Do you know?
You ever met my mother? No, you haven't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here's how it goes. You got Jesus.
Uh-huh.
You got Mary, which is above Jesus because my mother was a woman and so was Mary. So let's not forget that.
Okay.
Then above that, you had God. And then above that, you had my mother's opinion. That's how it all worked out.
Okay, that makes sense now.
My mother was an ardent Roman Catholic. And she didn't judge other people. That's not what I mean. That unless you were Catholic, she wouldn't. That's not at all.
Right.
But she was big into being Catholic, man. She just loved that.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you bring that up, my mom got that way, it felt like.
Yeah, really?
Definitely as she aged, she became more and more Catholic. Yep. More and more going to church every morning. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, honest to God. Well, I think I've told it. I don't know if I've ever told you guys the story, but the last time I ever saw my mother, I was living in New York and Florida, and then I would come to visit. And I also lived in Minneapolis, so I lived in 3 different places at the voiceover business and being on the radio and doing all kinds of stuff and all that, right? So the last time I saw her, I was holding her hand. And I said, Mom, I got to leave town for a couple of weeks. I got to go to New York, but I'll come back in a couple of weeks. She goes, I don't know. It's 2 weeks. I don't know if I don't know. I said, what do you mean? Everything's fine. Everything's great. I'll be back I'll see you in 2 weeks. She goes, yeah, don't give me that. And she was right. She died while I was gone.
Wow.
She was absolutely right. Vince Flynn called me and told me my mother had died because I didn't even know it.
Vince Flynn did?
Yeah, Vince Flynn called me and said, your mom died. I don't know if you know that or not, Tommy. Vince was a great guy. Did you guys ever spend any time with him?
No.
I knew of him,
Great
but
guy.
no, I
I mean, his brothers are a pain in the ass. You know what I'm saying? No, just a wonderful family. Mother, father, the whole family, just great people. And Vince, brilliant writer, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yes,
But yeah, so I
definitely a
suppose that was
favorite.
kind of an honor that Vince Flynn, a best-selling author, called to tell me my mother was dead. I
Yeah,
suppose
and
that was very nice.
she I either predicted it or knew, huh? So
Oh, she knew she wasn't going to live 2 more weeks. Yeah, she definitely knew that. I don't know. I really wish that everyone could have met my mother. I really wish that you three had met my mother. She was a completely different kettle of fish, or whatever they say. Plus the fact she talked like this, so that was another part of it. Mom, why don't you have another cigarette? What do you say?
oh yeah, that's
Oh, she had the Siggy voice. There's no doubt about that. Honest to God. Hey, Tom, I just got up. Yeah, I can tell, Mom. I can tell you just got up. Okay.
that's the old school, right? Like that's the
Oh,
well,
yeah.
the funny thing is too, but there was an extended period, go back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s into the 70s probably where it was stylish to smoke.
Oh, God, yeah. I smoked from
Like
the time I was 11 to 21. I quit when I was 21, but
but now we think of it as this gross dirty habit, but I mean, you go back to the old day if I mean you could smoke on an airplane. That's my favorite.
I love the fact that this is no smoking,
I know.
Yeah.
but it's right next to the smoking.
In
It's like, oh,
There's a
in a
cur-
tube in a tube with no air
right,
circulation.
right. Oh,
Don't
this is
smoke.
no smoking up here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. You can't smoke here. But take 2 steps back and light it up.
I am still fascinated by the fact. By the way, we're talking about this stuff because there's no sports to report worth shit, is there?
No, the Wolves won. That's it. No,
The
there's
Wolves.
not.
Well, that's good news though. So we will get to that
Well,
because
the
I
Wolves,
know
yeah,
Tevin's a
Wolves are
huge
good.
fan.
Wolves are
No
good.
question about that. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. It's one of those situations you go through life. Life is grand. Everything's wonderful. Then your mom dies, and that's not so great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Although my mom lived to 80 something, it was a good life. You know
Yeah,
what?
my mother was 88.
Yeah, I've always been. I mean, my parents lived a long time, so I guess the people I've always felt for is if you lose your parents early.
Did your mother used to say things that, like out of joint? Like my mother, and when people would say to you, God, there's this wonderful place. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but it's absolutely beautiful. And you kind of go, God, I can't picture that. My mother never said that way. She said, I can't feature that. What do you mean you can't feature that? What do you run a movie theater? What are you talking about? Picture, feature. I guess a feature was a movie picture
Yeah,
at the theater, so maybe she misconstrued. Well, I suppose I can't feature that in my brain. You're featuring things. I suppose she was right.
and you know what she meant.
Yeah, I know what you meant, absolutely. I wish you guys had met her, though, but you only missed by about, 50 years.
When did she pass away?
She died, oh my God, that was a long time ago now. Matter of fact, I know when she died because she died in 2008, which was not a good year for Tommy, by the way. The economy collapsed. I lost a ton of dough. My mother died. I mean, that was a horrible year. God, the economy collapsed. I mean, that was a tough road to hoe, no
Yeah,
question.
I bet.
But, such is life. Okay, let's talk some basketball, Tevin.
Yeah,
You watch the game?
it's a nice win, but when you look at it, I mean, Judd, it wasn't necessarily the most inspiring. No Luka Doncic, no Kyrie Irving, so the two best players for the other team didn't even play. I think more importantly, they're trying to get Chris Finch into coaching the All-Star game, and I think he's like one game away from being able to clinch that. So,
How many home games have the Wolves had this year where significant players for the opposing team don't play? And I'm not
Right.
talking about because they're like hurt for an extended period. I'm talking about this whole rest thing. It feels like especially this season, Tevin, that there's been an extended list of star players. In fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the first of those two Lakers games, LeBron didn't play. I do feel for people that buy tickets, especially who have kids, to take their kids to see Kyrie or Luka or LeBron, and you get there and like last night, that was a G League team for Dallas, and it shouldn't have been as close as that game certainly was in the first half, but regarding the recent losses by the Wolves, you at least feel good that they didn't lose that game and won by a lot.
Yeah, no, a lot of teams definitely do sit their players because that was always the narrative. Well, they're in first place, but LeBron didn't play when he came to town, so we don't know how good this team is. And so, yeah, it is frustrating to see that. And then Anthony Edwards obviously getting fined $40,000 for complaining to the refs. Pretty much time he called his own shot for getting a fine in the post-game interview. I know I'm going to get fined for saying this, but essentially bleep the refs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who hasn't said that? Bleep the PD, right?
Yeah, everybody. So, but yeah, it cost him about $40,000.
40 G's?
Yep.
Whoa.
It was real aggressive. The cameras also caught him at the end of the game, and he was not saying this for public consumption, but saying cheating ass refs.
Oh.
I'm going to guess the league didn't take kindly to that one.
Probably
Just
not.
going to go out on a total limb here. Bold statement.
Yeah, that's like be like me going, you know what? I kind of like Rob Hubbard, but I don't know about Ginny,
Yeah. Yeah, you might not. Exactly.
I've known her since she was 8 years old, man. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I've known Ginny Hubbard since she was 8 years old when I started at KSTP, 1500 KSTP, baby.
Yeah, spinning the wax, right?
Spinning the wax, man.
AM radio. You and what? You at KSTP, and I think, if I'm right about this, 63 KDWB was a thing then, right?
Rob Sherwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, very big deal. Rob and yeah.
AM radio, man. AM radio's playing the hits.
Yeah, Knapp and Bush became Knapp and Donuts later on KS95, but Knapp and Bush on the on 1500. That was a great radio station. Did you know that radio station? That's one thing I will tell you, because we got to go in a couple of seconds here anyway. But I have been so lucky to work at some of the places that I've worked because my first job was at KDAN, which is a little 500 watt daytime or whatever it was. My second job was at 1500 KSTP. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. I went to Grand Forks for about 6 months, and then I worked at KSTP.
Okay.
And they went from 13th to second place in 90 days. Did you know that?
Jesus.
You could look that up. They went literally, in 90 days, they went from 13th place to second place in the market. That is unbelievable. So you think Uncle Tommy's been a little lucky in where I end up being on the shows?
Yeah, that is incredible.
Isn't that amazing? And KQRS, same situation. It was the #1 rated morning show in America. And I was there when they went from 13th to second, but it had nothing to do with me. I can tell you that. I can tell you that for sure.
That's not what I'm hearing. It sounds like you showed up, and before you're even eligible for health benefits, it was your first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is all about me. More me now, and it's great. But that's why I love the whole situation. Except for good friends of mine who call me during the show. It's like, well, thanks. You don't even know when I'm on the air anymore. Of course, that used to happen on KQ too. I get calls right in the middle of the show. It's like, you do know I do a morning show, right?
Right.
Do you know that?
Right.
Jesus, Palomino. All right, Judd, any closing words?
No, that's about it.
I thought it was a brilliant sports report.
It was very good. Are you kidding? We did determine that all the sports teams, professional sports teams in Chicago, are pretty much awful, though.
Yes.
And so is their mayor. He's a terrible human being. So they're pretty good at getting terrible human beings.
But besides, I was going to say, you want to go back in history in Chicago?
You got that right. I mean, it's been a few of them. Well, maybe more than a few.
All right. I'll
Pally.
talk to you guys on Tuesday.
Talk to you Tuesday. Thanks, Judd.
All right. Bye.
Judd Zulgad, SKOR North. Ladies and gentlemen, take a break. Be right back in a couple of seconds. Some other hunyuck from Channel 5 is going to be on. What's his name again? Kristen? What is it?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, birthday boy.
Birthday boy yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. It's a new year. Why not treat yourself to a new gun from K&L Surplus and Ammo? I personally know Jim, the owner. He's been in the firearms business for over 15 years and knows how to set you up with the perfect firearm for your needs. K&L offers one of the widest selections of firearms in the region, including Beretta shotguns and Tikka rifles. High school trap teams are starting to form now, and K&L has a great selection of SKB shotguns. K&L has Tikka and SKB in both right and left-hand models. Very smart. K&L also has a broad range of ammunition, including both American, European calibers. If you have a collection of guns that you'd like to sell, Just call Jim at K&L so he can help you get the best price through his network. K&L Surplus and Ammo is on Lake Drive in Lina Lakes and open Tuesday through Saturday. You can also visit them online at www.klgunstore.com.
Hello, I'm Brad Huckle, President and Chief Lending Officer at North American Banking Company.
And I'm Michael Bilski, CEO at North American Banking Company.
As a locally owned and operated community bank, we work with many multi-generational businesses.
Take personal care dentistry of Roseville, for example. Dr. Walter Hunt, also known as Painless to me, has been a longtime customer of the bank since we opened the bank in 1998.
When his son Kyle was ready to join the practice, they wanted to expand quickly.
With their additional space and equipment, they now are able to see more patients each day while providing the same level of care and service.
Okay, guys, I'll take it from here. If you run a family business or any kind of business for that matter, you should be banking with Brad and Mike over at North American Banking Company. Every time I deal with them or their team, I know I'm working with experienced professional bankers. So why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees, they want to thank my listeners for all your continued support. So I want to thank you too. Not just Mike Lindell and his employees, me too. To thank you, they're having an overstock clearance and new product sale right now for the best prices ever when you use promo code TOM, and you get free shipping on your entire order. Get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0. Also get 50% off the brand new flannel sheets that just arrived, because they won't last long, you know that. 6-pack towel sets only $29.98, and take advantage of the free shipping on larger items such as mattresses and mattress toppers. 100% made in the USA on sale for as low as $99.99. Everything is on sale, from the brand new kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb, dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, and so much more. To get the best specials ever, go to mypillow.com or call 800-516-5146. Use promo code TOM, and you get free shipping on your entire order. So call 800-516-5146 or go to mypillow.com and use promo code TOM.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
Along with the lovely and talented baseball player. Oh, wait a minute. He's not a baseball player. He's a newsman. Channel 5's Chris Egert is brought to you by Mr. Money Talk Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation, 952-925-5608. What are you all dolled up for?
I'm trying to look like you, man.
Really? You're going to fall asleep in your chair?
I mean, there's a pretty good chance I will.
There's a pretty good chance. Depends how boring you are, Tom. I might fall asleep.
Right.
I understand completely. So a lot of arguing in the news this morning about who said what, and the translation meant this, and no, that's not right, and we don't want any Jews in Chicago. And what the hell's happening to the world, Chris?
I was just reading that article in the Star Tribune this morning about Ilhan Omar, and depending on how you interpret the translation of a speech she made is kind of up for debate right now. So,
I had a friend, and it is all about translation, because when you talk to people, and I won't say his name, you would know who he was anyway. When you talk to people, sometimes you want to make a point. You go, listen, let me just tell you something. This is how this is it, and I'm just telling you. You do that once in a while, right?
Yep.
For some reason, my friend didn't catch the training class or whatever it was, because he always went, the thing is, we got to do it this way because it's like, you realize what you're doing? Well, what do you mean? I'm just pointing out, like I'm waving my finger like you do. I said, no, I use this one. You use this one. Why? How would he have come by? Do you think he was doing that on purpose?
I mean, you knew him. Was he doing it on purpose?
I don't think so. I just think he literally was not paying attention. I don't know what the hell it was. Because I've seen other people do this. It's unbelievable. They like point with their little finger, and they stick their thumb out when they do it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just, the FU could be just, I'm trying to make a point.
Well, I do know that the Star Tribune had a Somali reporter, and the Somali reporter, who speaks the language, listened to it and kind of confirmed what they said was the proper translation. So I don't know if you believe the Star Tribune is fair and unbiased on that, which I don't have a reason to believe why they would be otherwise. Then, maybe whatever she said wasn't quite as egregious as first thought. But.
Well, I'd like to hear from some other people because, I don't care a little bit about a black cat's ass. I could say that, And I could say, well, you just misinterpreted what I said. You see what I'm saying? I
No,
don't
that's
know.
very true. That's very true. It's about context, right? Like
I just
agree.
don't know. But 90% of people said that she was railing on and on and on about this, that, or the other thing. I don't pay attention to politicians anymore. I think they're all nuts, every one of them. You know, one thing I love about politicians? When they need you, boy, they're on the phone. But if they don't need you and you call them, they won't even answer their phone. Politicians are some of the worst people I have ever met. Let's be honest. Right? You don't have to agree. Never mind.
You bring up some valid points.
As long as I need you, I'll be right there. But if I don't need you anymore, you're never going to see me again. It's just, you could tell they were people that never got picked for the team or always got their ass kicked in the schoolyard. It's those kind of people that run for politics, isn't it?
I always do wonder that. I wonder that. Having not, really jumped into that world all that much to know to know people well enough to know what they were like when they were young.
Yeah.
To kind of see what pushes people in that line of work. But
yeah, it's an amazing situation. But yeah, I used to get calls when we're just kicking everybody's ass on it. Everybody in the state and blah blah blah. Haven't heard a word from them in 5-6 years. It's just when they need you, and if they don't need you, you ain't gonna hear from them. I can't be like that.
That's unfortunate. Anybody who's sort of operates in that way is not good.
It is indeed. So we go forward. And the other thing about it is I've never liked news anchors. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Chris, I had a question for you because there was a couple unusual deaths that kind of came across the news. One was the 75-year-old man that was tased in his apartment for getting evicted that died. And then a boy that was hit by a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning in the highway. Did you have any additional information than kind of just the bland statement that was thrown out?
I don't, but I would agree with you that both of those were kind of unusual incidents. At last check, I didn't see that we actually have a bid on it on the news right now. I'm looking up. It was a Metro Transit bus, but I don't think we have an identification on the kid who was hit yet with that. So I don't have a lot of information about that, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, so the guy got tased. They tased a 75-year-old man. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, the story that I saw, he was getting evicted, and the police were trying to get him out of his house, and they tased him, and then it caused some sort of medical emergency, and he ended up dying.
What was he, like Andre the Giant? Why the hell did they tase a 75-year-old man?
They said he picked up a knife and was walking towards them. So he had a knife, and he was in his apartment not wanting to be evicted, and so they tased him.
It's interesting that came up because just this morning I was out for my walk and I ran into a guy. I don't know him really well, but I know him a little bit, and we were talking on the street just a little bit for a couple of seconds, and he said, "Hey, it's my birthday." And I said, "Oh, it's your birthday?" Kind of like Chris Egert yesterday. Kind of like that same situation. But what?
Yeah,
Let me see if you got.
Yeah, Chris, I have to say thank you because you weren't in the building yesterday when I showed up, but I'm at my desk working, and all of a sudden, 2 giant carts full of cupcakes came by, and they're like, "It's time to celebrate." And I'm like, "Oh, sweet, cool. What's going on? What are we celebrating?" They're like, "Chris Egert's birthday." I was like, "You got to be kidding me. I just saw him like an hour and a half ago, and I feel awful that I didn't even say happy birthday yesterday." So what are you now? 62?
62, yep.
Nice try. That's funny because you just brought that up, and I'm not kidding. The guy I ran into out in the street this morning said it's his birthday today, and I said, "Oh my God, that's fantastic." And you guys are of a different generation, so it might not have the same impact. But I said, "So what are you celebrating, 62?" And he goes, "What?" I said, "What are you, 62, 63?" And he goes, "I'm 83.
Oh,
have you noticed older people do not look like they're like when I was a kid and you were 83, you looked like you were 83. I'll tell you that. But
is that true, or is it that when you get older, you sort of have a little bit different sense of people's age? I don't know.
Maybe.
I ask myself that all the time because I'll be like looking at somebody, I'm like, and when you were a kid, like even when you're a kid, you think like 40 seems like it's ancient, right?
Right. That's
so.
True.
Yeah, Tevin, on that, the gentleman who got tased, that is something that, I mean, there are all kinds of different studies that of the impacts that being tased can have on,
Ooh.
on people. And a lot of times when I worked in Central Florida, that seemed to happen quite a bit in the Orlando area, where there were these sort of taser incidents. And there was a run of them where there were people who were dying after they'd been tased. A lot of it came back to them having drugs in their system, or there was something going on. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they sort of dig a little bit deeper into that 75-year-old, because that, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, there's all kinds of medical proof that taser thing, it does something to you beyond, the initial the shock of it. But
yeah.
We can close with this. I had a friend who was a big-time weightlifter. His name's Dale Henn. Great guy. Worked out with him quite often. And he also worked up at, I think, St. Cloud State Prison. He's a very big, muscular guy, right? Dale, just a great guy. And they used to test equipment on him because he's so big and strong, like they would tase him to see how it would work. They say, "Hey, Dale, we got this new thing, man. It's like a rubber ball cannon. And so we want to test it on you." And he goes, "What?" They said, "Yeah, it's like a rubber, but it's just a soft rubber ball, so it's not that big a deal. It just basically distracts them, so then you can move in on them." So he gets back up against this concrete wall, the concrete blocks.
Yeah.
And he goes, wait a second, just before you do this, let me step away. I just want to see how this works. Just shoot it at the wall. Boom, put a hole in the wall about that big. They had to dial back on the velocity a little bit.
Oh my gosh, really?
He came this close to getting smoked by a rubber ball. I mean, it wouldn't have killed him, but it would have hurt. I can guarantee you that.
Holy crap.
Whew, that'd be tough.
That dude must have been a big, bad dude to have him test out stuff on him.
Oh, he was. Dale, just a great guy, too. Haven't seen Dale in years. Dale, if you're listening, who loves you, pal? That's all I'm saying. All right, Mr. Egert, get off your ass and get to work.
I'm not gonna, but I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Channel 5's Chris Egert is brought to you by Mr. Money Talk Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation, 952-925-5608. We'll take a break. Be right back. You got to stick with this next segment because this is going to be rather interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, Josie Riesman is going to be talking about Vince McMahon and all kinds of stuff right after this. February is the month for love. When is the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? Have you gotten down on your hands and knees and adored how clean and refreshed it was? Or are you scared what you might see or smell maybe? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the biggest air filter in your house. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at just $119 and a free hallway. Don't forget dirt and dander's favorite hiding place, your air ducts. This month, take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, 952-ZEROREZ, or go online at zeroresminnesota.com and say you want the Tom Barnard Show special. Protect your employees and customers by getting your business Zero Resified by the pros at Zero Res. Call today for your commercial cleaning estimate. Spell it forward or backward. It spells the same. Zero Res.
Is that text you're sending so important that you missed your turn? Is that text you're sending so important that you ran the red light? Is that text you're sending so important you didn't see the ball coming onto the road or the child that followed? Hi, I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw & Bryant. When you take your eyes off the road for even 4 seconds, your vehicle travels 100 yards. That's the entire length of a football field. If you absolutely have to text, you need to pull off the road somewhere safe and do it from there. Texting and driving is against the law and can cause serious injury or even death to you and others. Now that is important. We hope you're never injured in a collision, but if you are, please contact us.
Find Bradshaw & Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Going farther with Mike Bryant on your side, seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw & Bryant.
Hey, it's a new year. Why not treat yourself to a new gun from K&L Surplus and Ammo? I personally know Jim, the owner,
And I'm not making that up. He's a great guy. He's been, first of all, I don't do commercials for people I don't like. So there you go. But Jim's a great guy. He's been in the firearms business for over 15 years and knows how to set you up with the perfect firearm for your needs. KNL offers one of the widest selection of firearms in the region, including Beretta shotguns, Antica rifles. High school trap teams are starting to form now, and KNL has a great selection of SKB shotguns. KNL has Tika and SKB both in right and left-hand models. KNL also has a broad range of ammunition, including both American and European calibers. If you have a collection of guns that you'd like to sell, call Jim at KNL so he can help you get the best price through his network. KNL Surplus and Ammo is on Lake Drive in Lino Lakes and open Tuesday through Saturday. You can also visit them online, www.klgunstore.com.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
I like that. Just kind of a little riffing going on. Is that the ticket?
That's the ticket.
From what I understand. So, yeah, let me know when Josie's ready to go, and we'll get
She's
it
all
done. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want to hear this. This is going to be unbelievable. Josie Riesman. Is it Riesman or Reisman? How do you pronounce your name, Josie?
Riesman, like Reese's Pieces.
Like Reese's Pieces. I thought it was Riesman because I knew some Riesmans, so that's why I went with Riesman. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, I'm glad we're already familiar.
Okay, this is going to be unbelievable. Ringmaster Vince McMahon and the Unmaking of America. That's where I want to stop talking and start listening because this, I got to be honest with you, Josie. I was a big-time weightlifter for a long time, many years ago, and so I spent a ton of time in gyms with professional wrestlers like Hawk and Animal, and you get down the list, Greg Gagne, Vern Gagne, all the great local wrestlers, national wrestlers, the whole shooting match. So I spent quite a lot of time with these people. They're different kinds of people, but they might be different, but Vince McMahon is really different, apparently.
Yes, Vince McMahon, who was for a long time the owner, chairman, CEO, various titles in charge of World Wrestling Entertainment, he was the singular figure of professional wrestling for about 40 years. And he is, to say the least, an interesting guy. Wrestling is a strange industry. It's kind of this little pocket of late 19th century robber baron capitalism that has managed to sort of stay its own thing for more than a century and kind of avoid hard scrutiny. And in that time, we've had about 40 years of Vince McMahon getting away with basically anything he ever did. Every once in a while, he'd face some business failure, but overall, it was a trajectory onward and upward, making more and more money, becoming more and more respected, becoming more and more entrenched in the media landscape. And that free ride seems to have ended last week.
Yeah, it ended with kind of a bang, didn't it?
That's one word for it. Yes, a lawsuit was filed on Thursday of last week by a former employee of World Wrestling Entertainment who alleged that Vince McMahon had not only sexually assaulted her, but had sexually trafficked her with other people at the company, had distributed explicit photographs of her, allegedly, to lots of people at the company. Really shocking allegations that I won't get into the details of, but those details were in the lawsuit. There were text messages, there were specific dates, there were very gritty details about the alleged coerced sex that was happening. And it was quite the event, especially 24 hours later when Vince McMahon resigned. A little over 24 hours later, the next day, Vince had been untouchable. This was not the first set of allegations against Vince McMahon by a length or a mile. It really is the culmination of many decades of accusations. And now, for the first time, he actually has been ousted from power at his company in a very conclusive way, it seems, as a result of these allegations.
You know, what's interesting to me is over the years, because, you know, I knew a lot of people that worked with him and all the rest of it. I didn't know Vince McMahon, but I did talk to him several times and Seemed like a very forthcoming, nice. I tell you what, some of the wrestlers didn't like him at all. Other wrestlers thought he was the greatest of all time. So that's pretty normal, I would think, though, isn't it? Some people are going to like you, some people aren't. I guess that's normal. But yeah, all the stuff that they're talking about that he's done, after just talking to him, you would. I guess everybody's like that, though. All the people have this bizarre or awkward behavior, and you would never know it by talking to them. I guess that's not a good indicator anyway.
Right. Well, I mean, part of what this set of allegations implies, if it's true, is that there was an institutional culture of silence at World Wrestling Entertainment, and that really started from the top with Vince. So you probably wouldn't have heard about a lot of this stuff because WWE was very adept at sweeping allegations under the rug.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon was very good presenting himself as a legitimate businessman, just like anybody else who runs a company. When in reality, he was operating by wrestling rules, and wrestling rules are kind of no rules at all. It's the code, the ethics code of wrestling is about as fake as the notion that it's an unpredetermined sport. You know, there's really an omerta, as you would say, about talking ill of Vince. And that has persisted since these allegations came out and he resigned. Very few people have stepped forward to denounce him from within wrestling.
Yeah, well, that does not surprise me at all, being around those guys all the time. They have their own world, kind of, don't you think?
Absolutely. Their world is one where, among many other things, abuse is rampant. And I mean that in all meanings of that word. You have the abuse of the wrestlers who are not employees. They are contractors. They're freelancers who don't have health insurance provided by WWE. They don't have a union. They have very little in the way of protections. And then, of course, there's the alleged endemic sexual abuse within wrestling. And like I said, these are not the first allegations against Vince McMahon. Going all the way back to 1986, there was an alleged rape of the first female referee in WWF. That was the predecessor company, a woman named Rita Chatterton. She claimed that Vince raped her in 1986. And that was just the beginning. There were plenty of allegations of assault or harassment after that. So, yeah, it's a really unprecedented situation in a lot of ways.
You know, it's so interesting to me. You look at a guy. Did he own the World Wrestling Federation? Did he own the WWF, or was he just part of that?
Yeah, the company was founded by his father and grandfather.
That's what I thought.
It was a family-owned company for most of its existence. And then in 1999, he and his wife, Linda McMahon, who were the people running the place and owning it, they took the company public on the stock exchange. But even then, they remained the controlling shareholders, and Vince in particular was the controlling shareholder. So although he was no longer at a family-owned company, he was still running the company, both in terms of the executive chart and also in terms of his ultimate financial power there. But that's over. When he sold to Endeavor, Ari Emanuel's company, last year, he gave up that control. He was going to be and was the chairman of this new merged entity between WWE and UFC. But he didn't have that ultimate financial power. He phased out most of his stock, which made him even more wealthy than he'd ever been. But it did take away that leverage he had.
God, what an amazing thing. Do you think part of this is, and the reason I ask you this is, as I said, I spent a lot of time around those guys, hanging out with them, lifting weights with them, going have dinner, doing whatever. Do you think the fact that he wasn't one of the big guys, he was very famous, but he always had somebody like Hulk Hogan or whatever that was more famous than he was, much bigger, much stronger. Was this drive to be sexually over the top? Was that somehow proving to himself that he really did fit in with all these big shots? That I just don't understand why you would do that, other than the fact you're trying to convince yourself, well, I'm just like these guys, which he was not.
I think it's possible. I think that's a big part of it. I think it's in many ways what seems to have happened was, in brief, Vince McMahon, up until about age 12, was a pretty unremarkable kid who most people regarded as nice and quiet, unassuming, bit of a non-entity. And then at 12, he meets his father, who he had been estranged from since birth. And his father was the owner of this company, of the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, Capital Wrestling Corporation. And Vince really changed once he met his father and started to learn about the world of wrestling. He really fell in love with it and embraced it at a bone level. And that's part of what happens, I think, in these allegations, is you have a culture that Vince was inducted into where this kind of thing happens. But also, let's look, I'm a woman, I'm a trans woman. I look at these allegations and I think if they're true, it's about power. It's about domination. You know, Vince is somebody who always wants to be the top dog in whatever room he enters. That's his thing. And sometimes that can manifest in sexual violence in cases such as that. And if these allegations are true, even a fraction of them, I think they suggest that that's part of what's going on.
I don't want to get too deep into this, Josie, but there's a bit of this that has to do with defecation, and it makes, obviously, to me, it looks like I'm going to show you how much bigger a deal than I am, and I'm going to show you what you really are by defecating on you.
Yeah.
Man, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's a really remarkable allegation that stands out in a lawsuit full of them. Yes, the allegation is that on a particular date, Vince McMahon allegedly coerced Janelle Grant, this employee, into a three-way sexual encounter where Vince defecated on her head and back and forced her to remain unshowered and unwashed for the rest of the encounter. This is the allegation. And I mean, again, if it's true, it seems to suggest wanting to dominate, wanting to be powerful, wanting to show people their place in the food chain, which is something that, again, even if this particular allegation weren't true, that certainly defines Vince. I mean, anyone who's worked for him, there are plenty of very conclusive out in the open cases of him asserting himself against somebody in a way that humiliates them. You know, I mean, look no further than Bret Hart and the so-called Montreal Screwjob in 1997. You have plenty of examples of Vince McMahon humiliating someone right in front of our eyes. I mean, there are, even in sexual situations, you had wrestlers like Trish Stratus who were forced to be in demeaning sexual scenarios with Vince McMahon's character, Mr. McMahon, on television, live television. You had him forcing these trained wrestlers with dignity and worth to get down on their hands and knees and bark like dogs or strip to their bra and panties lasciviously. Like, that's real power exercise right there. That is saying, I know where you are on this food chain, and you are not the apex predator. I am.
God, it's so amazing. It just, Josie, I know you got to get going here and all the rest of it, but I'd love to have you back some time to talk more about this.
Please, anytime.
Josie, I will put it this way. There were 22 of us that used to go to the gym, and 4 of us are still alive. The other 18 are dead. So that shows you what kind of life that actually is, too.
Oy, boy. Yeah. Well, yeah. What can you say? I mean, it's wrestling. People die young. It's a very abusive ecosystem. But, well, thank you for having me on to talk about it.
You got it. And let me say the same thing you just said, because I love that, and I'm stealing it from you, Josie. Oy vavoy from now on.
No, sorry. My Yiddishkeit is coming out. But yeah.
Thanks, Josie. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah. What a great interview. That woman did a great interview. It's kind of interesting because I bet he still runs into, well, your name is Josie Riesman, but see, didn't you know right away that he was trans? Or she was trans, I should say. I'm sorry. He knew right away. And by the way, does that put anybody off? Not me. I mean, why would it? Correct?
No,
I've never understood why people give a rat's ass what you do, other than rape, of course. That's out of the mix. I'm sorry, but you can't get away with that. But what you do with your body is none of my damn business.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Right?
it makes no difference. Is the content in your book good? All right, cool. I don't care if you're a man, woman, whatever. Like,
But I mean, that's why I didn't even bring it up, because, his voice or her voice still sounds like a man's voice, mostly, I would say. But I think it's terrific that this is. Hey, look, we had the first trans people on the KQ Morning Show like 20 years ago talking about what's this all about, because nobody had ever heard of it at that point. So that stuff fascinates me. It's like, it's a good example of, why don't you just leave me alone? And I'm not talking about just them. I'm talking about everybody. We all have different upbringings. We have different lives. You do what you do, and I do what I do. Right?
Right. As long as you're not pulling a Vince McMahon and, pooping on somebody.
Yeah, exactly right. As long as you're not pooping on me, I guess we'll get along just fine. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break, ladies and gentlemen. A little news and information coming up. Kristen Burt coming up at about 9:15. Only about 14 minutes from right now. We'll be right back right after this.
You know the song Kokomo? It's supposed to be off the Florida Keys, right? Hate to break your Beach Boys bubble, but that's a fictitious place they made up for the song. Fortunately for the rest of us, the Florida Keys island chain are as real as the taxes you have to pay in Minnesota if you're a resident. Now that's a reason to move south. In addition to Florida and all of Monroe County being beautiful, the Keys from Key Largo to Key West are even more beautiful. This is Tom Barnard, part-time Florida resident myself. And if you want a second house or a new retirement home or want to become a Floridian, may I suggest you contact Matt Carlson from One Key West Realty. Matt grew up in Litchfield. He's a super real estate agent when it comes to finding your tropical island space in the Keys. He lives there and here, and Matt knows what's best in Key West to buy for your second home in Florida. Matt teamed up with fellow Minnesotan from Sartell and Alexandria, Kristen Eklund, who's one of the top mortgage brokers in the country from Coast to Coast Mortgage. She'll get you the financing you need to buy a home in Florida or in Minnesota. Matt's part of the Lake Sotheby's International Realty Group here in Minnesota, and Kristen, his mortgage colleague, lives and works in the Keys, so they both know the Florida Keys' new and existing homes for sale and are Minnesotan through and through. Contact them by heading to onekeywest.com. That's onekeywest.com.
Jim Paul of Valley Buick GMC has a mutiny on his hands. His sales crew said they've had it brooming snow off the new Buicks and GMCs, then warm them up, move them to plow, and repark them again. He even overheard them cooking up an alternative plan, a sale.
This is crazy. Why don't we just mark them down and sell them?
This is getting real old to be out on that lot in this sub-zero weather.
That's right. Everyone we sell is one less to broom. I heard we're supposed to get 6 more inches tomorrow.
I'm 5'6". How am I supposed to get the snow off the roof of a pickup?
I'm Jim Paul, and while car dealers do have all kinds of crazy sales, this idea probably makes more sense than most. There's plenty of inventory, so okay, the crew has decided.
So then it's official. The We Don't Want to Broom snow sale is in full force at Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley and Hastings. Snowy inventory priced real right at valleycardealers.com.
You need to know a guy for your auto repairs, legal issues, banking, and more. The same goes for investment advice. You need a guy to help you be successful, someone you can trust who gets results. Well, I got a guy for you, Josh Arnold. Josh gives you straight talk, not sugar-coated advice about your financial situation. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions, and Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. Do yourself a favor and call Josh now for a no-obligation 48-minute evaluation. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll get a different point of view for your investments. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. That is 952-925-5608. You'll be glad that you did. And tell him his guy, Tom, sent you.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. Tom Barnard is a paid endorser.
This is Bob Sansevier, and I want to tell you about Dave Bialke from Bialke Law. Dave represented my wife, Mary, when she had a significant workplace injury. She was very happy with the job Dave did. If you have a work-related injury and have Dave represent you, I'm betting you'll be happy too. Dave is a down-to-earth guy. He grew up in northern Minnesota, rides a Harley, and worked various jobs doing concrete, electrical, plumbing, roofing, and carpentry work. Dave works for people with work-related injuries. If you work construction, or anywhere for that matter, and you're hurt or even just hurting, you should talk to Dave. Let's face it, our bodies wear out. If your body is worn out from work, if your knees or back or shoulders hurt from things you do at work, do what Mary did. Call Dave and talk to him about it at Bialki Law to set up a free initial consultation. The number to call is 763-571-2410. That's 763-571-2410. Or visit bialkilaw.com. That's BIALKE law.com.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
I like it's kind of a whiny note when they bring up my name. Tom Barnard. Why does it have to be whiny?
Yeah, it does have kind of that. I don't even know is it like whammy bar that's on a yeah that
Yeah, I know what
there
you
you
mean.
go.
Probably true. I think they're doing it on purpose. What do you think?
Yeah, they're like, is somebody crying and weeping too obvious? Yeah, make it sound more like a guitar.
That's exactly
Let's use this
right.
baby sound.
Yeah.
Let's use a guitar.
God, I love that guy. Josie was a great guest, I thought.
She was terrific.
You guys ever spend any time around professional wrestlers?
Professional wrestlers? No, I
Not
don't
like an
think so.
extended period. I've gone to some shows. Ric Flair came through the SKOR building when they were in town for AEW to kind of just promote some stuff, but not in a sense where I'm sure you're talking about where it's like actually sitting down one-on-one hanging out.
Plus the fact it's such a thrill to, get up there and be able to, move around weights 2-3 times more than the average person. And then they come in and they do 2-3 times more than what you did. It's a thrill. Let me just point that out.
Just superhuman.
Well, I can't remember if it was, I don't think it was WWE, it was a bodybuilding competition back in the day where it got leaked that they're potentially going to be doing random drug tests. Not one person showed up for the bodybuilding. Like the bodybuilding wrestling, it's all steroid free. Although Ric Flair will argue that his body is 100% natural grass-fed beef.
That's what he says. He's always wearing that robe or whatever the hell that is. I love that when he wears, and then he takes it off to just show you just how cool he is.
Yep.
You ever talk to him?
No, but AJ, you said he went through the Hubbard building. Did you get close enough where were seeing him just kind of interact with people, or was he just on a show?
Yeah, no, he sat down with Phil and did like a half hour, 45 minutes or so. Just talked about the wrestling scene right now. Talked about the old days. They talked about Gagne. They talked about some of the older Minnesota guys that they used to have on 1500 when they were on the air there doing stuff live. And I mean, he's just an electric guy. Like some people just have that aura about them, and you can understand they play a character.
Yep. His
character, it seems like it goes from 11 down to 10 when he's off the air.
That's true.
Sure. He's still in a sense, but as soon as that mic clicks on and blah blah blah, it is prime Ric Flair.
Yep.
It is incredible how well he's able to just hone that and get into it, and he's doing all the stuff. He's got all the phrases down. He's saying exactly what you want to hear. Just electric human being.
God, one thing I love about wrestlers when you'd get to know that, then I would do appearances as the morning guy on the show, and then the wrestlers would come and we'd all do appearances, blah, blah, blah. The first time I ever did, what the hell was the guy's name? He was the heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah, I never spoke any louder than this, kind of talk like this. What the hell was his name? But I showed up for an event, and I'm talking to him, and I said, man, I really like that talking style you use. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, you're so laid back, and you don't yell and scream like most of these guys. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, that voice he goes, this is my voice. I'm just here to tell you, this is my voice. And if you don't like my voice, it's too bad. I mean, he went this big deal about the fact that he didn't do this whole deal. Do you think maybe it's because he couldn't?
Yeah, or because I'm sure a lot of those guys, they talk like a normal human being, and then now when I'm in front of everybody, I gotta put on my tough guy voice. So he probably maybe does the opposite, where it's I'm not going to do this stereotypical thing and just be normal.
Mm-hmm.
God, his name just popped in my head, and then it left as quickly as it popped into my head. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
But it was where the appearance was is at Parade Stadium. You guys even remember Parade Stadium?
No.
Used to be on the corner of, what is that, Hennepin and Lindale, I guess it is. Right across from Dunwoody. There's that big park there that's got the big cock in it and all that stuff.
Yeah. The blue
okay.
cock and the spoon. Yeah.
Cock and the spoon.
Why can't I think of what it's called? The sculpture park or whatever?
Yeah, like the Walker Art Museum or whatever, that area.
Yeah, it was kind of right on the corner, the northern corner of that whole area.
Yeah,
it's called Parade Stadium. It's a football stadium. They played some baseball there as well, but I don't know. We were doing an appearance for something, but he was a good guy. Don't get me wrong, really really nice guy. Vern Gagne, Greg Gagne, of course, is still a really good friend of mine. But yeah, the wrestlers. And that is really sad though that literally 18 of them are dead. Isn't that sad?
Yeah, a lot of, well, especially back in those days, the drug use, the steroids, the drinking, and all of that, and just the amount of stress bodybuilding and trying to get that big puts on your body is not good for your heart.
I don't think there's any question about it. It's very, very, it's a different life. I will tell you that. Plus the fact, if you were one of the big guys, like Hulk Hogan, what chance do you think Hulk Hogan ever had of walking down the street and being left alone?
Oh, zero.
Zero.
And especially because WWE is a very much so like little kids love wrestling, you know.
Yeah, yep.
You now, every time you meet a little kid, you can't ruin that experience for them and not be, you know, the Hulkster. You got to immediately snap into that and do the thing.
What you gonna do, brother?
You got to do that deal. I do love that. Hey, brother. I do love that.
With Hulkamania. Yeah.
I was very, very lucky. Early on in my career, I met people like, Harmon Killebrew, one of the greatest twins, one of the greatest Major League Baseball players of all time. And you meet the wrestlers and you meet Fran Tarkenton and all these legendary figures. But I got to be honest with you, the way I grew up, baseball was huge, football was huge, basketball, not a lot of hockey in my neighborhood, so I didn't really know anybody, but Louis Nanny and I are really good friends because he's such a decent guy. But yeah, getting to know all those guys was a real thrill for me. There's no doubt about that. It's kind of very, very kind of cool, right?
Yeah, and because you think that it's like, because everybody go, oh, wrestling's fake. But you can't really fake jumping off the top rope onto a folding table onto some concrete.
That's the biggest thing. Like it's scripted. Absolutely. Fake though, no.
No, yes. No. They know who's gonna win, but they don't. You can't. I remember seeing, because when I first watched a wrestling match and all you heard was, oh, it's all fake, it's fake. And I can't remember who it was, but he got hit in the head with a chair and his whole head was covered in blood. And I remember being a little kid like, that's not fake. Like that doesn't sound like something I want to do.
None for you. No. Getting hit over the head with a chair.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, that's not a thrill. I got to be honest with you. But man, I cannot tell you. Saturday nights, as I've said before, Saturday night at 6:00, you tune in All Star Wrestling, Vern Gagne's company, and it was just part of being a teenage boy, man. And I should. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say very quickly, being a teenage boy and still because of the depth of my voice, I could still order beer over the phone to be delivered to my house. So, drinking beer and watching Saturday night.
That is awesome.
Saturday night wrestling was a great childhood. Let me put it that way.
And I never realized how wrestling is kind of a soap opera in a way where there's like this backstory. It's like a aggressive male soap opera where it's like, yeah, we were in Nashville last night and you said this about my mother, so now we're in Minneapolis and I'm gonna kick your ass, and everybody's going crazy in the crowd. Like,
yeah,
it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It's just a wonderful deal. Honest to God, I was so lucky to grow up the way that I did and getting to know all those people, and it just, although it was kind of depressing when you'd be, hey, I just benched 300 pounds. Ooh.
That's what I warm up with.
That's what they warm up with, exactly. All right, we got to take a break. Coming right back. One of the greatest weightlifters of all time, Kristen Burt, will join us right after this. February is the month for love. When is the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? Have you gotten down on your hands and knees and adored how clean and refreshed it was? Or are you scared what you might see or smell maybe? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the biggest air filter in your house. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms, 0 resified, starting at just $119 and a free hallway. Don't forget Dirt and Dander's favorite hiding place, your air ducts. This month, take $75 off when you get your air ducts 0 res clean. Call 0 res right now, 952-0RES, 952-ZEROREZ, or go online at zeroresminnesota.com and say you want the Tom Barnard Show special. Protect your employees and customers by getting your business 0 resified by the pros at 0 res. Call today for your commercial cleaning estimate. Spell it forward or backward. It spells the same, 0 res.
Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Landon and Gavin Miller of D&B Plating.
I've always been impressed with their speed of answers to our questions, and that has allowed us to expand and capitalize on opportunities in the market.
North American Banking Company has never made us feel like a number. They've always treated us as a partner.
For more information about North American Banking Company, go to nabanco.com or stop by any one of their Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The Tom Barnard Show is proud to have partners like North American Banking Company, Bradshaw and Bryant, and attorney and advertiser Dave Bielke.
I've been advertising on Tom Barnard shows for years. I like Tom, not just because he's a good guy, but because the ads I run on his show bring me new clients that are hurt at work and need legal help. Tommy B works for me.
If you'd like to find out more about growing your business with the Tom Barnard Show, go to tombarnardshow.com, keyword partner. This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of people that look just like Hawk and Animal, Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Were you just flexing your muscles?
I was bringing the
that.
gun to the show this morning.
The gun show, ladies and gentlemen. Oscar, you know that I just realized you and I have one thing in common. And I had never seen you wearing that kind of top before, and I didn't realize that you and I had the exact same shoulder width, you today and me when I was 2.
I am on the petite side.
Yes, you were. You said you're what, 5'3"?
5'3".
That's what I thought. Would that be considered petite?
Yeah, I think anything under like 5'4" is considered petite in terms of like fashion sizing. Yes.
There you go. So, and Catherine can dunk a basketball, so she doesn't count.
She's got height. She's lucky.
She's very tall. There's no question about that. And kind of pushy, to be honest.
I mean,
tough
she's
guy
the
when
boss.
she's in the other room.
You know that.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So we went through, Kristen, I'm trying my best. We went through episode 3 of Fargo last night. It's okay at best. John Hamm is not impressive in that thing at all.
Are you kidding? He's so good.
He's terrible in it. I'm going to say every word like this. I'm going to talk like this the entire time.
Did you put on the captions?
No. Why would I put on the caption? I could understand what he was saying. It just wasn't very interesting.
Then maybe it's time to quit on Fargo if you're not
maybe. I think the problem is because, was it 4th year? Last year, that was a phenomenal year. I think that was the best of them all, to tell you the truth, last year's, where it covered the gangsters on both sides of the coin down in Kansas City. There were the Italian mob and the black mob, and it was kind of like, hey, this is kind of how I grew up. I like this.
That's what you related to it. That's great. It's funny because this is considered the big comeback season for Fargo's, the one you're watching right now.
Yep.
And season 4 wasn't as highly regarded, but when you relate to something, that's all that matters.
No, that's exactly it. And maybe that is the situation. I've never been in Scandia, Minnesota, so I don't even know what that is. Anybody ever been in Scandia, Minnesota?
Isn't that on the way over to Wisconsin? Like kind of over by Forest Lake? I'm pretty sure I used to drive through there.
Oh, did you?
Regularly, and it's a town that's not big enough to have a show about it.
Yeah, it's one that like I agree with that. I'm almost positive I've passed through it at one point, but I couldn't point it out on a map.
Did everybody in town talk like this when they talk to you? That's how everybody talks in Fargo.
Did not spend enough time there.
Nobody stops in that town long enough.
No, not even getting gas, nothing. I'm going to stay with it because Catherine likes it. I'm going to stay with it. I think the problem might be, Kristen, that I was so impressed with season 4 that nothing was going to stack up to that anyway.
You're a little disappointed. It's
Chris
okay.
Rock is a damn good actor. Don't you agree that he is damn good?
Yeah, it's so funny when people underestimate him. I think because people get put in a box, and then someone goes and does something outside the box, and you're like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" But it's been there all along. It's people don't give them chances.
Yeah. So and maybe it'll catch on and all the rest of it, because I've always liked John Hamm before. Obviously all the great things that he's done before, and it's not that I can't stand him. He just his character's just kind of boring so far.
I think John Hamm's going to wind up with an Emmy nod this year, so
That's
we'll
what
see.
I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't stand it, but I'm like, the Emmys are like amazing.
Well, that's because
we'll give them an award.
Spoiled rich white kids. That's why who picks that stuff. That's what it is.
I'm a voter. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
spoiled rich white kid from Massachusetts. Is that what we're saying?
That's what you're saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay. Anyway, I'll get out of your way now. But yeah, I am going to stick with it because Catherine does like it. I do like the people in it. It's just, I don't know. It's okay, I guess.
All right. Well, we got lots of good things that are coming your way. And
Excellent.
I thought about Tevin and AJ this morning because Netflix rolled out its teaser for 2024, probably while you guys were on the air. So I doubt you've seen it. But we're getting a little teaser for Squid Games 2 in there. Avatar: Last Airbender's in there. Yes.
Oh,
I know. I mean, understand it's a teaser. It's everything rolled into one. So it's not, you're not getting like a big trailer or anything, but it is something.
Any info is good info.
Yes, it's progress.
Yes.
There's a little tease. Jerry Seinfeld's doing Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story. And I was actually like, you know what? This hooked me. This little clip that they did, I'm actually intrigued on how Pop-Tarts came to be. There's a tease of Eddie Murphy with Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. That's coming back. And then Cameron Diaz's big return to acting with Jamie Foxx back in action.
All right.
Yeah. And there's other things rolled in there. You'll see Bridgerton and you'll see Outer Banks, like some other shows that are coming back 2024, but something to look forward to. But I thought of you guys this morning.
Is there anything that maybe wasn't on people's radars that you think is going to get a lot of attention as like it gets closer to releasing? Like, what is the one thing that maybe stuck out that is kind of out of the blue that really is going to get a lot of attention?
The Pop-Tart story. All of a sudden, Jerry Seinfeld pops on your screen. And I mean, he's playing Seinfeld. You know what I mean? He's not playing anything. He's not diving deep into the drama like some of his fellow comedians are. But I was like, I think that this is probably going to be that water cooler talk, that movie that like everybody watches over like a certain weekend when it comes out.
All right.
Yeah, so I was like, but who thought that Pop-Tarts would be worthy of a movie?
Hey, I'm in. I'm already in.
You know what? I like Pop-Tarts as long as they're not frosted, and it's hard not to find unfrosted Pop-Tarts now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think I've ever seen an unfrosted.
They used to sell frosted and unfrosted, and now they just sell frosted.
I would like to know something. Did Seinfeld steal this from Andy and me?
I was going to say, he saw you as being a big Pop-Tart guy now.
Yeah.
I had never had a Pop-Tart in my life, so Andy did a video of me eating a Pop-Tart. And that was
How
like
did
a couple
you
of months
avoid
ago.
Pop-Tarts in like the 70s and 80s? I feel like they were so big.
Let me put it this way. You got to have money to. Where am I going to get Pop-Tart money?
In the
This is what
70s
my
and
mo-
80s, you had money for Pop-Tarts.
Well, that's true in 70s and 80s, but didn't they come out in the 60s originally?
I don't know.
I don't
We're
have
going to
any
find
idea.
this out in the Pop-Tart story, Tom.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't bad. Well, I'm not going to watch the Pop-Tarts. I got to be honest with you. You've talked to Seinfeld and Larry David, haven't you?
I have not. Neither of
Or
them.
you never have? Two of the most annoying human beings I have ever been near.
I mean,
Oh
that's
my
valid.
God, they're annoying.
That's valid. That's valid. But I mean, Seinfeld was such a moment in the 90s. It was,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good show. It was a good show, yeah.
And
Not
I
because
think
of him, though.
I feel like because they didn't do too much like diving into pop culture, that it didn't date itself too much. I mean,
Yeah.
there's certain things, of course, technology and everything else, but I feel like the comedy kind of holds up. Where I look at Friends, where it was so of the moment and of pop culture, like some things it just doesn't hold up as well, in my opinion. Although Gen Z would tell me otherwise and say, it's the greatest show ever.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole deal. It's generation to generation to generation. I just, like I said, I just, they're very impressed with themselves, and I don't usually like that.
They have a lot of money to show for that.
Oh,
though.
they certainly do. There's no doubt about it. Look, I'm not saying they don't have any talent. It's just not my kind of deal.
Yeah, it's not your comedy.
No, it's not my comedy at all. I thought the other people on the show were good.
You said you don't like Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I did in that show. I did.
Okay.
Well,
Have you tried to watch Veep? I know Britt for a long time was trying to get you to watch Veep.
I never watched it, no.
Yeah, it's
Never
a really
watched
good
Veep.
show. You might like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe I didn't like Julia Louis-Dreyfus after a while because my father wasn't a billionaire.
You're upset because she's like a Nepo baby?
I'm not upset. I'm jealous. That's
Yeah, I know, right? She didn't have to have that survival job. All that Dreyfus money was.
No, she did
She was
not.
not waiting tables like everybody else in LA. One other thing to look out for tomorrow is Groundhog's Day. ABC has sold a third of its national advertising to one company, and it is Frito-Lay, and they are going to run a series of commercials following Groundhog Day 8 times, and you'll see it during, just so people know where to look for it. Good Morning America, GMA 3, General Hospital, Shark Tank 2020, and Jimmy Kimmel Live. So the actor is going to be stuck in the same loop over and over again, but each time his flavor of Lay's changes. That's the only thing.
That's it?
That's it, because it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah. I like it. I love the Groundhog Day movie with Bill Murray. I think like the holiday, it's a weird holiday because it's like, it seems like a very made up thing, but it's fun to see when companies, I think, can like put a fun spin on their advertising. And this is a fun way to do it. This is a fun way to do it because it's right before the Super Bowl. And I feel like people build themselves up for that. This is a little out of the ordinary. It's before that. That's good. I'll talk about it for sure.
Yeah, this is the first time it's ever been done. They've never done anything like this. It's a one-day event. You'll be able to catch some of the commercials on Hulu too for people that don't have ABC and actually watch Hulu instead. It's clever. I think like if it works, we may see other stunt type of advertising like this. And of course, it was Jimmy Kimmel's company, and this is no surprise to me, Ryan Reynolds, Maximum Effort, that actually produced all of these ads. Because Maximum Effort, I don't know if people are paying attention to what Ryan Reynolds is doing. He's revolutionizing the advertising industry.
He is. Yep.
He's amazing. And I just worked with his company on Discontinued on Fubo. And I'll tell you, everyone that works there just has some really fascinating ideas. And they're really trying to think of ways to get people to pay attention to commercials. Because otherwise, we fast forward through them, or that's when we go and get the snack. This will probably make people at least pay attention to one or two of them at least. And that's a success. That's a win.
You see this?
What is that?
What?
You got to hold it up to your
You can see that.
Oh, yep.
Mint Mobile, baby.
Mint Mobile.
You know
how was
how
the
much
coverage?
It's phenomenal. Because the one I had, and I won't say what it was, had terrible coverage most places I went. $270 a month was my phone bill.
Oof.
It is now $31 a month on Mint
That's
Mobile.
amazing. They're feeding off of T-Mobile. So I always worry that it's like, if I went to, let's say, a concert, like an area that's very dense, does it work there? Does it work like it if you go to a basketball game or something, Tom?
It does, yeah, because Mint Mobile. Somebody told me that T-Mobile's gonna buy Mint. Did you know? I mean, you haven't heard that yet?
I mean, I know that Ryan sold it off, and he's still just the spokesperson to it.
Right.
So,
I think T-Mobile's going to absorb it, from what I understand.
But then does the price go up?
Well, that's the problem. I'm back at $270 again.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, are you back to square one after that happens? I want to know.
No, I got to go back a little bit because I was kind of negative about 4 or 5 straight people there for a second. It's not that I don't like anybody, but I should mention also that tomorrow is my daughter's birthday. So Groundhog's Day and my daughter Alex's birthday, it's a national celebration,
Absolutely.
But no, I just, I don't know. There's a lot of things about a lot of different people. Well, you just brought up people I don't happen to, and I don't dislike them. It's just they're not my kind of people. That's a better way to put it, right?
Right.
Yes. I don't
All
like
right.
every actor out there either. It's okay.
Oh, who don't you like? I want to hear.
You know what? I'll be honest. I don't enjoy Tom Cruise movies, and it has nothing to do with his personality. I don't enjoy him all that much.
It's the same movie over and over and over.
Same movie and over. But
it is.
But Jerry Maguire, love that. Super
Yeah.
interesting. He's great in Tropic Thunder. Interesting. But I feel like he does play Tom Cruise. And for me, he's someone I now have a hard time distinguishing between Tom Cruise, the actor, and Tom Cruise, the person in real life.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're all just kind of one and the same.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. So I just didn't want to leave the show on that negative. I didn't mean to be negative about 5 straight people. It just happened that they're not my kind of. It's not my kind of deal, right?
That's okay. You don't have to love everybody.
No, that's not what I've heard, Tom. Everybody loves you. Why don't you love everybody? I just made that up. That's bullshit, by the way. Never
But I'm going to
happened.
fight you on your John Hamm dislike. So
I usually like him, but I just don't like him in this. I thought he was terrific in that Mad Men.
He's so good in Mad
I
Men.
thought he was wonderful in Mad Men, but he's just kind of boring in this. Maybe does he get better after a while?
He's good. He's good in the whole thing. I think he's good in the whole thing. So we're already not seeing eye to eye.
Okay, I'm going to do the John Hamm from Fargo readout for Kristen Burt. Kristen Burt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. That's kind of how he talks in Fargo, don't you think?
Sexy. Come on.
Oh, it's sexy. Okay.
I want my intro to be like that every morning.
Kristen Burt's with us, ladies and gentlemen, and she's nearly topless.
I'm not. I have 2 shirts on.
I know you do. That's why
I have a sweater too, but it just was warm in here because it's raining and I shut the door and the heat's at the house.
And you got to let the people see the guns, Chris.
Yes.
The gun. Look at those guns.
Licensed to carry. Yeah.
Guys, I'm up to 15-pound weights now.
Are you really? Oh, wait a minute. Do that again, and I'll pretend that I'm Animal from the Road Warriors. Say what you said just now.
I'm up to 15-pound weights now.
Ooh. All right, young lady, we'll talk to you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
I need a tan too. It's
Well,
really
everybody
blinding
does.
light when I'm looking at this.
Everybody does. There's no question about
I
it.
know, but I live in California. I have no excuse. I'm allergic to the sun. Is really my excuse.
Well, that's
so.
all you would do is work, though. You work and work and work, right?
I just need a spray tan. That's all it is. I can't go out in the sun.
Oh, you can't?
No,
You get
I'm
sunburned?
allergic to it. Yeah.
You're not allergic to the sun.
I am. I actually
you
break out in a rash.
Ooh,
I'm out
that's
in
not
the
good.
sun. Yeah, I get a heat rash and it's super itchy and it stays for days. So that's why I'm the kid under the umbrella at every vacation.
Well, I'll tell you flat out. You notice that I'm not in Studio A because I can't be around Tevin or AJ. I just break out in a rash. It's the
Yeah, we have
same
that
thing.
People.
Yep.
On people, not just me,
He only
but
comes in on
people.
Fridays, so that way he has all weekend to recover.
He comes in 1 day a week. Tough schedule, Tom.
Well, it is a tough schedule. It's been going at it for years now, and I finally got her down to a science. What do you think?
Here you are. You've mastered it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mastered it. All right, Pally, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you on Friday.
Thank you very much. We will be back on Friday. That's going to do it for today. By the way, I received a message from Mike Bilski at 8:03 this morning, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Way to start on time.
Always punctual. Always punctual.
All right, fellas, we'll talk to you tomorrow. The family show's up in about 15 minutes.